Well, hello again. It is your girl, Tracie L James, and I am back yet again with another amazing woman entrepreneur. And let me tell you something, I can't wait to jump into this conversation. You know, I don't bring you anybody that can't drop some nuggets, okay? Because you know I check them out. You know I take a look at that social media and I want to see, what are they talking about? What are they doing? And is it quality? And is it consistent? And let me tell you something, this lady right here, she's bringing quality and she's bringing consistency. And I've got for you today, the one and only Sharon Ringier. And she is the queen of business development. She has been working for over 20 years, elevating, educating, and empowering female entrepreneurs to find and live their best lives, both personally and professionally. And you know, that's what I'm all about, is helping women entrepreneurs take things to that next level. No solution, no excuses allowed. We focus on the solutions. So today I want to welcome Sharon to the show. Thank you so much for joining me today, Sharon.
Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Oh man, I've been looking forward to this conversation. I connected with you on LinkedIn and was just checking out some of your content. And I just love just the whole essence of the woman's empowerment and how you truly are focused in on motivating women. So as my audience knows, I ask the same question of every single person I interview. So who are you? And why do you do what you do, Sharon?
So it's all kind of one and the same. My why is who I am, but it stems from being, I have, my background is corporate America. I was an event planner. And after hearing your story, we have a lot in common with, you know, I had my day job, but at the same time, I have my legacy. That's what I call my vision is my legacy. And even my husband reminded me, you know, when I would have issues at work, he goes, okay, is that their full-time only job? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, okay, but that's not their legacy. You have a legacy, so don't forget it. So when I think about what I wanted to do, I at first was a wedding planner. And on one side, I'm a mom, I'm an aunt, I'm a sister, of course, a daughter. So all of that I embody. I'm a wife. I embody that, but the embodiment of it was part of why this happened and trying to figure out what this looked like from women's empowerment, right? So I was doing my events and as an event planner, and I just wasn't finding anything that was truly like soul satisfying. Don't get me wrong, I love planning. I really do, like down to the core. You can tell, give me 10 minutes and I'll have your event plan. And it's no joke, I can do it. But it was something missing. And I working in corporate America, and I say this all the time, men tend to do business in the boardroom or on the golf course. And as female entrepreneurs, we don't have that opportunity. So every endeavor I ever embarked on, I saw the struggle of female entrepreneurs. And one of them was the personal side. And it was personal from the standpoint of how do we balance out life? And mine was so severe that it was actually putting me in the hospital because I would get that, like I would run myself in the ground going after my hustle. And I was in the hospital every year almost for years. And when you have your 12-year-old come back and mom, you're in the hospital every year. That's when it was like, I have to really reevaluate what I'm doing. And working the event industry, it was doing the same thing to me. So I'm like, I wanted to do something that was meaningful. I'm like, hey, I want to have a women's empowerment conference. So I planned the conference, and to promote it was doing masterminds. And after the conference, everyone's like, okay, but when is the next mastermind? I'm like, that was like a deer in headlights. Like, oh my God, what do I do now? So I'm like, okay, you guys give me 2 months. Okay, just give me 2 months to really wrap my head around it, because I had already, again, ran myself in the ground. Because planning events and producing events are two different beasts. So I can plan, you know, platinum weddings, but putting butts in seats is a totally different thing. Absolutely. And that eventually did put me in the hospital. But before it did, I literally I figured it out and I'm like, okay, we're going to launch this thing. And it's no longer Women's Empowerment Conference. It's going to be Women's Empowerment Collaborative. And I use the word collaborative because as we get the stigma and the stereotype of women are catty, they're backstabby, we get all the negative. And it's like, no, women were never taught how to do business because we're learning from men. Again, men. And it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just that we are inbred DNA differently. So I really wanted to create a platform for women. And that's where I light up. It's like, how can I help women walk into their true authenticity? And I do apologize, that's outside. Walk into their authenticity and be able to know they are possible. So that's where, and this is who I am. So anyone that knows me knows that, I'm possible is when you say my company name, you're stating who you are.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And you are so right about the difference between planning and production. Okay.
Yes.
For me, one of the reasons I hesitated to even step into the event space was that I didn't want to do any more birthday parties, weddings, anniversary parties. I didn't want to do none of that no more because I had less than stellar experiences in that space. And I have a good friend that's also an event planner in Tennessee. And I would be her sounding board, her venting space. And I would be like, no, I don't want to do this. But, that production piece, it truly takes a space of collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I feel that a lot of women entrepreneurs, and I hate to say it, a lot of times Black women, we don't collaborate, not because we don't necessarily want to, but because we don't really know how to collaborate.
Exactly.
So what advice would you give to a woman entrepreneur who is at that point where she's like, I'm trying not to run myself into the ground, and I know I need to collaborate. I know I need to create some spaces where everything's not all on me. How do I do that? What advice would you give?
One is understanding how to set boundaries and knowing where your strengths lie. And that was a hard lesson for me because I was that Jane of all trades. I just did a post about that. And I felt like, oh, I can just do it. And a lot of it wasn't the fact that I didn't want to relinquish it because it was a cost thing. It was more of, it's easier for me to do it than for me to explain it to someone else to do. And in all actuality, it's really about control. And there's this saying that if you have a penny, so I'll use my paper clip. If you have a paper clip and you put it in your hand, when I close my hand, it can't get out. But look what happens. I can't get anything else in. You know what I'm saying? It's fallen off. So it's like, we have to understand that we have to keep an open mind like we keep an open hand. Okay. And that's keep an open mind, understanding you should not that you can't, but you should not want to be the jack of all trades or the Jane of all trades. You should be able to say, this is what my value is. This is what I'm worth. And if my worth is, let's say, $150 an hour, you doing your email posting, is that worth $150 an hour? When you can potentially hire someone, a VA or an intern, and utilize your time better. And that's the best way I can explain it, because a lot of people don't understand the concept of delegating. Because again, it's that ego with control, and we have them. We all do. I know I do. And it was really hard for me to relinquish things. But when I realized what my value was, I realized that I need to hand that off to someone else, because I need to be making my $150 an hour and pay someone else $20 an hour. Now I've just made 130. So I give it in that scenario. That's how you have to think about it to be able to walk away from it, because otherwise we will continuously, we're fixers. That's who we are. That's how we were made.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that whole delegation piece tends to be really difficult for that solopreneur when they
Yes.
are at that point where they're growing that business and they've been doing everything, they've been wearing every single hat in their business and trying to make that transition. I mean, at times it can even be just difficult just to say, I'm going to automate something.
Mm-hmm.
I've had clients that literally just struggle with the whole idea of automation. They're like, well, what if it doesn't work? Then you fix it. But 99% of the time, it's working properly if it's set up properly and you
Exactly.
monitor it. Monitoring the automation takes less time than doing all the tasks that are
Yeah.
within the
Yeah.
automation. It's a completely different thing. And I love how you broke that down in respect to the dollars, saying this is your value. This is what your hourly rate is. And when you do a task that's really a $20 task, you're losing $130.
Mm-hmm.
But if you pay someone 20 to do it, you retain 110. I like that. I love that because it makes more sense.
Yes.
So you can focus on the things that do require you, you
Yes.
know. So for you as an entrepreneur, I mean, what has been the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome?
One was the delegation piece. And two, so I'll never forget when I first started I'm Possible. And I was doing my launch party, and it was like an epiphany hit because it was all over a meme. But I'm very much into quotes and self, positive self-talk and mental, mental awareness and all of that. And I'll never forget my husband, he went and got his hair cut the same day that my event was. And it was rather short. So the joke was my husband couldn't make it, but my boyfriend did, my boyfriend Hans. And I said, so I wanted to just tell Hans, hey, I'm sorry. And everyone was standing there, and because he's even like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. And I go, what I didn't realize is that I was really frustrated with the fact that there were times I didn't feel supported. And that's something that, especially when we're in relationships, that we go through and we don't understand. And it doesn't have to be your husband. It can be your parents, or it can be your kids, or it can be anyone, your friends or whoever. You don't feel supported, or you don't feel understood. They don't get the mission. They don't get, they don't understand the assignment. And what really hit me was, but God didn't lay it on their heart. So it was just like, I mean, that light bulb was so big I couldn't carry it, because I was just like, oh my God, that whole time that distraction was there because I felt so unsupported. And it wasn't that he didn't care. He didn't understand. And we tend to put that barrier on our loved ones or our friends. They don't walk that journey. And unfortunately, they don't even believe they can do it. And they may not verbally say it, and it may not even be in their heads, but in their psyche or in their inside, they're not made to do that. So of course they're going to not be supportive. So it's our job to walk that walk that we were given, because God laid it on our hearts, not theirs. So that was a really huge wake up call for me, to not take it personal. When, I mean, my youngest is a software engineer, and he's smart as a whip. Entrepreneurship is not his thing. I think he could do it. Oh man, you can write code, and H plus plus and C plus plus and everybody else's plus going on, and you should be a consultant, and you should be, that's not me. And oh, okay, now I'm putting my beliefs on him. Boom, got it. I hear you. So it's like, and my other son, sous chef, now he's looking at something totally different, in the pharmaceutical field. And it's like, mama, that's his walk. And that's what we have to learn. So I learned from both sides. Journeys are individual, and we have to respect that space and
Yeah.
understand that just because we were given the assignment That's not everybody else's assignment. So keep going.
Man, that is just so true. Because I have two sons. One's 32, the other one's 17. Okay.
Oh, bigger
Yeah,
gap.
there's a little bit of a gap.
Yeah, bigger gap. Mine's only 4 years. Mine is 30 and 34. So, ooh.
Yeah. So for me, with them, one of the struggles I had was the fact that I went through school in a very specific way. I was raised by educators. And so for me, I got homework done, did whatever the teacher told me to do, just so wouldn't nobody yell at me. I just didn't want to be yelled at. That was my thing. Okay. I was a kid in the house with 5 adults. If one person caught me doing something, I got yelled at by 5 people. So the thing I wanted to do was not cause any trouble. So I was very compliant.
Okay.
My sons, no. If it didn't make sense to them, if it wasn't logical to them, they would question it. And that frustrated me. It still kind of does, just a little.
I can't.
But being able to accept the fact that they have their own journeys and the fact that I came out ready to go to college. And the truth of the matter is, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was going with what everybody said I should be doing. Because I could be sitting here with a law degree that I don't use if I had really listened to people when I was coming out of high school. They were like, you make an excellent attorney. And I entered college as a pre-law political science major. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I graduated with a marketing degree. So,
awesome.
In that space, I've had to find what really was working for me.
Right.
And that's kind of the thing that we have to do, even as entrepreneurs, when we are walking out our journey.
Yes.
You see it all the time. I can't get my friends and my family to support me. Boo, they not your clients. They are not your ideal clients. Even if they fit your avatar, they are not your client. If you created this business just to sell to your friends and family, this is a hobby. It's a hobby. You've got to be open and understand that this business was supposedly a vision that was created for the world. Because if it was just for them, you didn't have to quit your job. You didn't have to, get an LLC and do all of this stuff. You could just make it a hobby and just make it for people. I know people who do that. I've had those conversations with people. Oh, my sister-in-law makes these great candles, or she makes this great soap. She needs to talk to you. You need to help her build her business. And then I have one phone call conversation with the person and I'm like, they don't want to build a business. They're content just taking care of their family and friends. That's all they want to do.
Right.
Their journey.
And that's success for them.
Yes. And accepting what each person's success is so important. And so as you are building this collaborative, how are you helping women really find their success? How they define their success?
So what we offer is a mastermind for the ladies, right? And I always tell women, come as a guest, because not everyone is, one, my client, and 2, not everyone again, defining what their success is. So it gives them the opportunity to not just go off of hearing me, because sometimes it's like, your kids will listen to everybody else but you, right? So rather than hearing me regurgitate what they should do or must do, it's other women collaboratively speaking what is possible. And sometimes it's just not for that person. They realize that, this isn't for me. So I feel like the platform that's there, that is my way of basically giving back, because we tithe into one another. We give to one another. We all have different expertise. We all have different experiences that we can share with other women. Again, it's a brainstorming session. And that's what's nice, because men brainstorm in the boardroom all the time. But as women, we get labeled as we gossip. Well, no, actually, if you put the right women in the room, let me tell you, they are a force to be reckoned with, because I watch it every month. And these women are no joke. So that would be my contribution on how I help them. And this kind of helps them. It's basically, my grandmother used to say, you crap or get off the pot. It's like, you figure it out. Either you want to do it or you don't. And if this isn't what you want to do, what is it that you do want to do? And that's the conversation we can sometimes have, if they're open to it, but they have to want to be open to it. So it's not like I'm helping them, because I don't look at what I do as I help. I empower you to live your best life personally and professionally, and the personal first, because if you don't know who you are personally, you can't do anything professionally. Absolutely. I mean, think about it. Steve Jobs, filthy rich, but he was soul poor, SOUL. His soul was poor. The stories that's out there, he gave the best commencement speech. And one of them was the fact that he did not know his family well. He didn't know who this was and hear his heart. He didn't cater to his heart. He only catered to the drive. Yeah. And that's what I feel we lack as human, like the human race. So how can I help women or empower women to do that? Because again, I don't want to help you. I don't want to hold your hand, because I can't carry you and me. I still got to work on me every day, as they say, air day. So it's like, how can I empower you to figure this out for yourself? Because only you're going to have the answer, because again, it was laid on whose heart? Yours.
Yeah, I like what you're saying about it not being helping, it's empowering. Because I know for me, one of the things I struggled with some of the coaching clients that I fired was because it was like they were expecting me to run their race. I'm your coach. I'm here to advise, guide, support, encourage. But it is up to you to implement the plan we've laid out. I'm here to help you lay it out. But if you can't run it out and you're waiting for me to do something, you didn't hire me to do it for you. I'm supposed to be walking alongside you, making sure you're headed in the right direction and getting things done in a timely manner. And so often, I think when people hire coaches, they go to masterminds, they go to conferences, they seek out mentors. It's like they are expecting to hand this idea over to somebody else.
Someone else
like,
do the work.
Okay, you do it. You fix it for me. And I'm just going to stand here and look cute. No, this ain't how this works.
She's like, this is not how this works. Oh my God. At the end of, before we begin to masterminds, I go through talking about everything that, like what a mastermind is and what the expectations are and all of that. I end that with, just remember this, we are collectively the women, your linebacker, your quarterback, whatever the football teams are. I have to read it because I can never remember what the players are. We're all of that for you. But you are the one that has to take the ball to the end zone. Touchdown. We don't do that for you. You do that. But we're here to support. And that's key, is finding that good support system.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can't make you do anything. I don't want to make you do anything. I don't even make you do anything. I do what I want to do because I want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I call my support system my front row. I grew up in dance and theater. So for me, when I say my front row is there to applaud. They start the standing ovation.
Yes.
And if I fall on stage, they the first to run on stage to help lift me up, dust me off, and tell me to get back at it. If I need to be corrected, they do that in private, but they applaud me in public.
Exactly.
And they are those people that are going to be with you no matter what. They got you.
Right. You're ride or die, right?
Yes, that's it. That is it. And those are the people that if I'm standing center stage in a stadium with 50,000 people in it, and I'm about to speak, they're the ones that I feel like they're going to be right there, front row center, going, go Tracie, you can do it. And we need that. And the assumption that one thing I absolutely hate is the word self-made. That gets under my skin.
Yeah.
Because there ain't nobody on this earth that was self-made. So, hey, number one, you weren't born by yourself, okay? It took a mama and a daddy. I don't care if they was together or not. It took two people to make you.
It still took something if you even came out of a test tube.
That would be correct. It took two.
Yep.
Egg and sperm to make you. So throughout your life, there are those things that when people get there and say, oh, I was a self-made millionaire. How? Somebody gave you an opportunity. Somebody gave you a chance. Somebody bought something. Somebody shared something. Somebody somewhere helped you. Even if it was just Jesus.
Oh my God, I love you.
So I always have that problem. I always say, look, stop trying to be self-made and walk in fellowship, because that is what we are supposed to be doing.
Right.
One of the things that I believe is that every problem we have in the world, every single problem, there is a person on this earth who was created to solve that problem.
Yes.
The issue is they are not on their post. They don't understand their assignment. They don't understand their purpose. So when you begin to look at something like what you're building with your collaborative, it's like you're helping people get on their post.
Yes.
So that they can begin to really walk out their purpose. And I absolutely love that, because I feel the world is going to be a better place as more of us get in line with why we were created.
Oh, thank you.
I absolutely love that. So as we wrap up, I want to ask you this question. And this is one that came up just in the midst of us talking.
Okay.
Where would you like to see women entrepreneurs in the future? What is your vision? 10, 15 years from now.
That far out?
Yeah, I mean, where would you like to see women entrepreneurs?
I'll preface it with this first. I'll never forget speaking at a BNI once, and this gentleman, he did not look like us. I'll say it that way.
Okay.
And we were talking about women's empowerment, and I was, speaking about, what like women hold the checkbooks and things like that. I was giving statistics, and he leans back in his chair, arms crossed. And I'm like, okay, here we go with the body language first. And he's like, well, women are always trying to compete with men. And I had to tuck Sharon back in because she was scratching out to come out the casket. She's like, look, I'm not dead. I'm not dead. Let me out. I will cut him for you. And I was like, okay, no. I got this. We're going to leave alter ego alone. You stay there. I got it. I promise. And I looked at him and I smiled and I leaned forward and I go, with all due respect, I have no desire to compete with a man because I birthed them. So with that, we birth everything from babies to businesses. Let your man be the head of the house. He's here. We can be that support, because guess what, girlfriends, he cannot turn without us. So at the end of the day, we have more power than we realize. So as women, I want us to own our power. Submissive in a godly way is not a bad thing. Okay? It's like, own it. I mean, look at Barack and Michelle. And the first thing that man did, and he was basically head of our country. And I'm not getting into politics, but when that man would look at his wife, he was always, when we walk in our greatness, our men are great too. And I think it's what, 1 Peter 3, or is it 2 Peter 3? One of those Peters in the Bible. It talks about our role. We have so much. So it's not so much from an entrepreneurial standpoint, because I think that regardless of where we walk, entrepreneurship goes from motherhood to boardroom, honestly, because that's still a business. Our kids are still a business. We just need to own it with authority, but graceful authority. And be the dynamic, amazing, just powerhouses, the queens that we are. And then from the, if we really want to delve into the business side of it, I think that more women have opportunity to do more for our country and be able to create more jobs, because big box is really not where it's at anymore.
Oh,
it just isn't. And I think that we can make that difference of, but we have to, as you said, we have to get up on our post. And when we get on our post, don't look over there saying, oh, well, she's on her post. No, sister, can you move your post over closer so we can grab hands? Because if we interlock this, we can go together. That Michelle Obama has this quote that says, you need 3 people in your life. And I say people because everyone has a different definition, but from a business perspective, I use it for that. You need a mentor, someone that's ahead of you to take you along the way, a colleague to walk alongside you, and a mentee, someone that you can bring with, and you keep that infinity going, right? So it's like, how do we, that's what I want to see in women. How do we bring up other women? How do we empower them to live their best lives? How do we learn from other women? Because guess what? We don't know it all. And we, oh, well, I've done that already. Okay. Keep being broke. Keep an open mind to learn from someone who has been where you're trying to go. I mean, I feel like if we, it's more of a trait. It's the traits that we need to develop that we're not developing. We could be so much more and so dynamic, whether, I mean, at the end of the day, whether you're a white woman or a Black woman, you're still a minority.
absolutely. Without a
So
doubt.
I just say I'm a double minority, but you are still a minority. Don't get it side-eye crooked or messed up. You are still a minority, and men will still look at it in a way that, or some men, I won't say all men, but some men, like the man I met, all women want to do is compete with them. Like, no, I don't. I had 2. There's nothing to compete with. I want to beat them. And they'll tell you, I want to beat them all the time. I love them to tears. But yeah, I want to beat them up. But it's like, why would I want to compete with that?
Right.
I don't even want to compete with myself. I want to grow.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think the whole concept of women wanting to be men, women wanting to compete with men, women wanting to prove they're better than men. No.
No.
What I'm saying to it is that as a woman, I am not automatically inferior. As a helpmeet, that does not make me inferior.
Exactly.
My grandmother told me, she said, baby, being the neck enables the head to turn and do everything it needs to do.
Exactly. Otherwise, that neck can't turn.
So it doesn't work. And she said, as the neck, I can't do anything if the head isn't focused on what it's supposed to be focused on. So she said, it's about all of those things coming together to work and accomplish the purpose that we were created for.
Exactly.
And there's power there.
Yeah.
There's power there.
Yes.
It doesn't mean, and because the thing is, when you really look at the Proverbs 31 woman, and I actually just recently finished another study in that, I really looked at that and I was like, people like to focus in on her taking care of her children, making sure that they're clothed and all of that. I said, but she buying land. Did y'all not hear that? She is selling stuff to make money to buy land. She's a businesswoman.
Don't get it crooked.
So I love that. And I look forward to seeing what amazing things are going to come out of I'm Possible in the future. And I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be a part of this. So before we go, please share with everyone how they can connect with you.
Awesome. So my website is I'm Possible without any like characters. So it's technically impossible, but it's impossiblewec.com. And if they want to know about any of the events that we have, because they are monthly, we have a monthly membership, just /upcoming-events. And I will tell you that the first Wednesday we have a mastermind. So we mastermind once a month, because my vision of that is I've gone to masterminds where it's like every week, you don't get anything done. So I want to make sure that the women have time to work on things, because when you're in this mastermind, you're not learning just what you have an issue with or challenge. You're learning everyone else's challenges. And then you're like, oh, I think I need to implement that as well. So, so that's the first Wednesday. The second Wednesday, we actually do a speed networking event. So you're welcome to come to that as well. And that's all on the website as well. The third Wednesday, we do Empower CEO series. So that's why I have someone come in and speak. And it's anything entrepreneurship or health and wellness as well, because I feel like women, we need to look at that as well, or self-care. And then the fourth Wednesday is all about celebrating, because at the end of the day, we don't celebrate ourselves as women, as mothers, as wives. We just don't celebrate ourselves. We celebrate everyone else but ourselves. So I wanted to make sure I put that piece in there as well. And we have other events too, member events as well. So definitely the best place to find out what we're doing is just go to the website. And that's again, impossiblewec.com.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. As always, those links will be below this video so that you can connect with Sharon. Thank you all so much for watching, and please put your questions, your comments there, because we want to hear from you. We'll be monitoring and we will gladly respond to you. So until next time, I remind you that no matter what happens, just do it regardless. Zero excuses allowed. Take care. Love you much. Bye-bye.